Okay, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. Sorry, it is after 12. Welcome to the September Medina County Safety Council meeting. We are very excited that you have joined us today. My name is Stephanie Mueller, and I am the Membership and Events Coordinator with the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce and help to oversee the Medina County Safety Council. So we are excited to be here again, virtual again, but we are thrilled with the attendance that we have been getting. So as a reminder, we are going to ask you to please keep your phones on mute. And then we're going to ask you to not show your video. This will allow for better bandwidth so that you will be able to see our PowerPoint presentation and hear our speakers today. And so if you have any questions about how to mute yourself or how to not show your video, you can see the icons up here. There is a chat function. So when we get to our presentations today, if you have questions for any of our speakers, please feel free to put them into the chat box. I will be happy to relay those questions to our speakers, and they will be happy to answer those for you as well as we go. So for our agenda for today, we are going to have an update from BWC, from Carrie Gray. We are then going to have our presentation from our Lean 5S safety. And then we will do a question and answer at the end, and then we will adjourn. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Carrie Gray from BWC.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you again virtually. I think my name is Carrie Gray. I am the BWC safety consultant that works with all of you in Medina County. So if you need anything, even though I am 100% virtual at this point, I am still here. I'm doing a lot of phone conversations and a lot of virtual meetings. So if you do need something, just let me know. I'm here to help you. A couple updates on the BWC, and if you want to flip to that slide, Stephanie, that would be great. There is, like I said, I'm here for you virtually. There is more face coverings. Most of you or all of you should have received face coverings unless you were a self-insured company. You should have received face coverings from the BWC. They are sending more of those out. I'm not exactly sure the timeline. I believe they're going to be sending them out to the smaller companies first and work their way to the bigger companies. So just depending on where you got them last time in this time frame, it should be similar. They are also sending to the board another rebate, a big rebate, billing back again, and they're looking at rebating the 2019 premiums. So that is really exciting news, and hopefully we'll all look forward to getting another nice big check. That will happen. I believe it's still at the board, but they've announced it already, so I'm assuming you will all get it, but it should happen, I believe, in October or November. So just be looking forward to that, another nice big giant check. Make sure you cash it if you get it, as silly as that sounds. We are still doing weekly webinars. I actually just got off of one that was from 11 to 12 today. Those are every Tuesday from 11 to 12, and the next two that are coming up, one that's really exciting, September 22nd, next Tuesday, is Steve from the Fire Marshal's office. We've had him as a speaker. If you remember, he was phenomenal, and he's doing a look at real fire hazards. It's really good with lots of pictures and very animated discussion, so it's very good. And then September 29th, we're having Rick Mage from the BWC talking about heat stress and cold stress, and it's a really good overview of what to expect and how to deal with it in the coming months, and then what we should be doing over the summer. The BWC also puts safety updates out once a month. You can, if you type in safety update on our website, you can find them. There's a really neat home office ergo setup video that's linked to that. Today, or actually yesterday, started the OSHA Fall Stand Down program. There's information on that and just tons more information. So if you're looking for things to do safety talks on, there's a good place to find it. The last thing that I wanted to bring up, and if you switch, is the virtual classes. So as I've been saying the last couple months, the BWC classes have been canceled in person, but we're doing a lot of prep work to do some classes virtually. I personally am teaching the lockout tagout one on October 15th, and these are all half-day classes. It's going to be different, but they're going to be really good. So I know mine's going to be really interactive, and I believe the other ones will. I think the NFPA 70E one might be a full-day class. So look at that. They're all free classes. They're available to you guys and to everyone in the state. So sign up, because the size will be limited for that. So first come, first serve. My contact information is on that last slide there, and I will turn it over to, I think, Chris, are you going to jump in now, or is Stephanie coming back?
I'm taking it.
I'm back, sorry.
Okay, you're good.
So we are very excited for our September Medina County Safety Council meeting to welcome Chris and Ernie from Gear Up for NEO Manufacturing Recovery. They have a great program planned for us today, talking about Lean 5S plus safety. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Chris and Ernie.
Thank you, Stephanie and Carrie, for giving us your update. And after I pull this up, we'll get going. So as Stephanie mentioned, my name is Chris Adams, and along with Ernie Kulik, we've been given this awesome opportunity to present to you in the next 25 minutes or so the topic of Lean plus 5S plus safety. So Ernie and I are part of, as Stephanie mentioned, NEO Manufacturing Experts, who work with a consultancy known as Gear Up for NEO Manufacturing Recovery. And Gear Up includes a group of experienced hands-on operational excellence engineers and project managers. And that's how we see we're not your typical consultant type folks. We have that experience behind us. So today our topic is talking about how organizations can benefit by implementing Lean 5S methods and improve safety. I'm not sure what, there we go. So for this session, I'm going to talk to the objectives of today's discussion and then go through a brief introduction of myself. And then Ernie's going to take it over and introduce himself, and we'll present the agenda for the balance of the meeting. I don't know if I hear people giggling in the background, but the objective of today's session is not the unsafe way of doing things, but instead, how do you work to improve how safety and how you're working so you're working more safely? So safety is a common metric that many of us deal with every day. And typical safety items, include, and especially in these times, everything from COVID related, where you're talking about not wearing masks and not social distancing, workplace related concerns like slips, trips, and falls. Could be injuries from not properly using a tool or a device, or not properly using ergonomically safe practices. For example, not bending and lifting properly. So our objective today, though, is to provide you with an overview of Lean 5S plus safety as an approach we have used and have seen work. It's a proven approach used by Toyota and other OEMs, and that can help you with your safety programs. So please understand that given the limited time, we're only going to be able to provide you an overview of this approach. We want to simply share this approach that's worked for us along the way. So as I mentioned, a little more about myself. Call me the operations guy. And yes, I've been fortunate enough to have worked for several companies in various industries. And this includes some larger companies like Ridge Tool, which is an Emerson company, where I was able to earn a Lean black belt. And then under my own initiative, I obtained a Six Sigma black belt via state grant going through Lorraine County Community College's certificate program. And understanding that SQDC, safety, quality, delivery, cost metrics rule the day, and having participated in over 100 Kaizens, you can do a lot to improve an organization with these type of efforts. And beyond the certifications, my roots are in industrial engineering education from that school up north. Everybody always jumps on me, but the fact that I've got my MBA from Case. I try to explain I've got some business savvy, and my real world education is from my engineering management and plant management experience with more than 10 companies, large and small, in North America. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ernie, and Ernie's going to explain, as the corporate guy, what he's all about.
Good morning, everyone. I'll give you a little bit about my background. Thanks, Chris. I'm a graduate engineer, came out here with Sahio British Petroleum, became a project manager, and then wound up as environmental health and safety engineering manager that supported manufacturing and facilities across North America for Eaton. Some more the corporate guy. I got involved with the whole Lean 5S program because we were a tier 1 supplier for Toyota, and they were pushing down on their supply chain to improve manufacturing processes. We used that on our processes to improve product quality, and it worked really well. As a matter of fact, it worked so well in the manufacturing processes, we decided to push it out into other areas like support services, and that's how we got involved a little bit with applying this to safety. As part of that, I coordinated and worked with a lean and safety team to develop and support what we called was a world-class safety program. And our driver was, as Chris was mentioning, improve safety metrics, and the hard part, creating a better safety culture across the company. To do that, I looked at a number of safety programs, and our decision based on what we had to do on our goals was we thought it was better to follow the lead that Toyota had, where basically what they did is they included safety with their lean program, and as part of their lean program, Lean 5S, which we'll get into in a minute, was what worked for them. So I worked with them to kind of follow their lead. So our approach was to apply Lean 5S plus safety to achieve these world-class safety goals, which all of you, I'm sure, relate to, is harder to do than to say. So what I'm going to try to do today is share with you all how this program helped me and our company achieve these goals, share some of the lessons learned, and some of the experiences we came across in implementing it, as opposed to trying to sell anyone on a program like this. But I think it'll be very helpful. Okay, can you do the next slide, Chris?
Yep.
You're the control guy. As far as an overview and agenda, some of the things we'd like to cover today, just start with an overview of what it is, and the core of this will be to go through the basic steps of Lean 5S. Then we'd like to tie that in a little bit with how this can work with the current issue that everybody's dealing with, COVID. And then, of course, go through some examples and some results of the data, recap some of the lessons learned that we came across, things for you to consider, along with closing thoughts and takeaways, and then we'd be open to any questions and go through that with you as time permits. And again, the thing I wanted to just note here, we've got 25, 30 minutes to go through what's basically a 4-hour presentation. So just bear with us. We're going to try and hit the highlights with you and give you a flavor for what this is all about. Can you do the next one? Okay. Lean 5S overview. What is it? We related it to mom, dad, and apple pie. And the reason we picked this was, I think Lean 5S can basically apply to a wide range of things. Everything from a kitchen drawer to a manufacturing plant. And if you go to the next slide, if you take a kitchen drawer, and mine is on the right and Chris's is on the left.
Hey.
But you have a before and an after example. The before of Lean 5S is typically where everything's dumped in everything's unorganized. And this could either be a kitchen drawer or a welding shop and a manufacturing plant. And the after effect is basically you can see the benefits of having gone through the Lean 5S process, where you have the organizer, the forks and knives, everything's in a good location. That drawer is more organized and obviously safer. So which is the safer work area? This is the before and afters of the Lean 5S process on a basic thing. We've done this at manufacturing plants, plant-wide, individual cells, etc. You get the next one? So our purpose is to give you some ideas as to the benefit. And then the bottom line, the end result of all this would be, if you look at the 5 steps across the bottom that we'll get into, the end result will be a more organized and safer workplace that everyone can enjoy using what I've found to be a proven process that works. Okay. So how do you get there? This is the probably the most important slide in the whole deck. Basically gives you the 5 steps of Lean 5S to get from the drawer on the left to the drawer on the right. So I'm going to go through these steps fairly quickly, the first 3 anyway. And before I get into them, just keep in mind that these steps are typically done in 2 phases. The first phase would be to get rid of all the extra stuff. And that starts with the sort step, where you want to go through all the items in your work area, sort out all the things that aren't needed, things that aren't used very often, or what we used to come across, the I may need this someday item. And that relates to, I think, everything in the kitchen drawer also. So what you do after the sort phase is you remove those areas. You can put them into like a temporary holding area by red tagging. I don't think we'll have time to get into that. But once you go through the sort phase, you only have in that work area or kitchen drawer, if you will, the things that you're going to need for that area. Once you get done with that, you go to the straighten phase, which what you do now is you reorganize the workstation and put the things in order by the frequency of how they're being used. The more you use them, the closer they are. And you also want to put this items up in like a visual display, kind of like a tool board or a shadow board, or even something as visual as we saw in that kitchen drawer. And then after that, you do the shine. And once you have less areas in the work area, it's easier to clean everything and keep it clean. And then you use this cleaning process to keep the work area clean and organized. And as a result, you also have a safer work area. The end result, as I mentioned, is a cleaner, more organized, safer work area if they're going through the 3 steps. And the way we tied in safety and the way Toyota tied in safety is they had the safety manager participate and give input into these first 3 steps. And that provided often a lot of benefit, which sometimes initially the workers didn't think of, everything from safety to ergonomics. So I think, Chris, you're going to pick up on the next couple of steps.
Yeah. Thanks, Ernie.
Or tie in with the COVID.
Yeah, and with my operations guy hat on, I'm going to say, Ernie, that's great. Thanks for explaining the first 3 S's and what they stand for. And now in this COVID crazy world that we live in, I can see how those 3 S's help as a basic running of my operation. So what you're telling me is that Lean 5S can help create a work area with more space and fewer items to sanitize. So that significantly helps in this time of the COVID process. So basically heading back to safety, it comes into play as well, where we transition Lean 5S plus safety in this process to what you were alluding to earlier when you mentioned phase 1, now phase 2, to create that system to keep everything organized and items visually in their place. So standardize is really where once you've organized and cleaned an area, you're going to start developing guidelines. You're going to put in place visual controls. You're going to establish best practices to keep things as they should be and maintain that improved level of safety. And everything's going to be organized, clean, and safe. But to me, being an ops guy, it sounds like standardizing is just more work. You know, I'm an operations guy. I need to get product out the door. But although I guess I can see that this is an important part of the process and it helps keeping things running smoothly and will only help us to be more productive. So I guess it does make sense. But sustain, that's really easy, right? But I guess we would say actually it's probably the toughest step. You need to stick to that 5S plus safety program, and you should use lean 5S safety to make it both a way of life and a way of running your operations. And you basically are going to sustain the process by setting up periodic inspections. And as you had mentioned earlier, Ernie, encouraging worker input to get them engaged. Because basically if you have that, then you're going to have a good continuous improvement journey going forward. So going back again to safety, you know, safety basically, as you can see on this graphic, encompasses the whole process. You know, safety is like the glue that holds it all together. And I know what it means to my KPIs, and bonus, if we suffer a lost time accident, it just blows it all apart. So looking at another way, this overhead is a more visual graphic meant to show how safety can integrate with lean and 5S in the basic steps. Basically showing safety in lean 5S combined to create a very effective program that both supports safety by creating a better work area, as well as helps with safety by encouraging worker input, and demonstrates to the worker a visual benefit and what's in it for me, which is a safer, better work area that's basically showing respect for the workers and the area that they work in. So what's the definition of ownership if it relates specifically to safety? You know, most people have a hard time defining what ownership entails. And in terms of safety, everyone needs to agree to be accountable and responsible for their own acts, their own behaviors. And we see these two words being interchangeable, but they have two different meanings. Usually someone else gives you the accountabilities where, you know, I want to complete these activities, this list of things, I want those done before the end of the shift. You know, normally you're going to go ahead and complete those for a variety of reasons, such as if your boss is giving you the orders, there's some kind of reward for doing them, and that's getting your paycheck. But notice how generally someone else gives you the accountability. However, whatever the accountability gets done best when you take personal ownership or responsibility. As you work, it may be your reputation of always doing the job the quickest and the fewest errors. You'll take responsibility because of the pride you feel in a job well done. Away from work, you notice the responsibility you feel for having friends over and having a good time at your place when you hand them over for dinner and cards, versus that same responsibility at someone else's home. So it's important, you know, the key successful safety factor is everyone owning it and being responsible for their own safety. Things get better as workers get engaged and identify safety issues and look out through the process for fellow workers. And, you know, it's not my job culture. Everybody's a part of the process. So as far as success factors, I guess it's a true statement that in tying all this together, it's best to use 5S plus safety as a driving aspect of your safety efforts, and it will increase employee awareness and improve their behavior. And as an operations manager, I know that without engaging the front line, you're not going to be successful in making this type of cultural shift take root. You also need to show a what's in it for me benefit to this process by helping create that safer workplace. And this would help drive ownership. And as you know, with human nature, people have a hard time with change. And with everyone in our virtual audience, if you would try this, just try folding your arms the way you normally do. For me, my right arm on top of my left. And now try folding it the other way, and it's just kind of weird. It's just kind of different. So, change is that important thing that needs to be practiced regularly to make it a normal part of your process. And Lean and 5S can help you improve culture and ownership and improve work conditions, create that safer workspace, and typically increases worker engagement, which then supports that positive culture. And now, hey, Ernie, can you relate what you talked about so far to some real world examples in industry and the business world?
Yeah, let me go over an example. We've talked a lot about concepts. One of the ones I wanted to use is one of the early plants that we had in a corporate program, and it was a larger plant. They had about 450 people, and the way we approached it, we had the EHS manager and the lean manager get together and attend the events and work with the workers hands-on while they were doing Lean 5S, again, per the Toyota approach during the sort, straighten, and shine to look for safety and ergo items. And what we did with this is kind of blending this in with lessons learned from a real world example. We started with one pilot area to kind of show the benefits to the other workers in the plant. And we also did that so we could learn by doing kind of a crawl, walk, run thing. I'll touch base on that from lessons learned. And then the result was a lot of the other workers outside this pilot cell began to look and see firsthand how organized and easier it was to work in these in this one or two pilot projects that we put out, and they believed it by seeing as opposed to management trying to sell it. So the visual benefits of a safer work area, they were pretty obvious. Same as the kitchen drawer. And workers in other areas, they wanted to do the same thing, so that helped drive the program. It drove ownership. The frontline managers saw value in it, and they all became engaged. So per Chris, the whole what's in it for me thing, as looking at it from the corporate side, is a lot more effective than trying to drive a program. And safety, like Chris said, kind of comes into this category. So the safety program, in effect, became easier for the safety manager due to a couple of reasons. You included safety in with an existing program. Granted, a lot of our plants had Lean 5S already in there, but these programs shared goals. And I think the biggest driver that I observed was there was a strong visual for people looking at the work area, and that encouraged workers to get involved and give their input. And it wound up being a win-win for both the workers from the work area that they had, the fact that management showed that they cared, and from Chris's end as a plant manager, where you got better metrics, and given better metrics, you got lower insurance and more profit. So that's the gist of the one example. Having covered that, I just wanted to touch base on some of the data that relates to this facility. Should you go to the next overhead? Oh, wrong way. Okay, these are the metrics for this facility. Where we started this thing, look at the blue line, that was our actual. These are recordables. We started around 5, and then the next year it went up to around 7. And that's where, when things happen, people try stuff. That's where we initiated the Lean 5S safety program. And as we began to implement that, and the culture drove throughout the plant, you can see a pretty dramatic increase in the metrics. And it got so good as we were able to maintain a zero recordable for a while, and then it increased. But the other thing I wanted to mention with this, as Chris mentioned, this is a good example of how the sustain part is hard. So without getting into a bunch of issues with safety, I just wanted to show this graphic because where I came from, it was always concepting is easy, show me the data. So this is just one example. And for the plant, the success came in lower recordable injuries, which obviously got into cost savings like Chris was talking about. Okay. Okay, there's nothing on that already. There it is. Another example, you can apply this beyond the manufacturing plant. There's a lot of other areas where Lean 5S safety can be applied. This is a picture.
You showed my desk again.
I didn't hear you.
You showed my desk again.
That's your desk, yeah.
Very nice.
No, your desk is coming up. There's your desk. The before pictures are pretty obvious and can be applied to a wide range of areas. I've worked with a few engineers who their offices were like this, and they were able to find stuff too, which amazed me. But beyond offices, 5S can be applied, and we applied it to construction sites. I also worked for the Army Corps of Engineers. We applied it in programs there. I worked with some public agencies as a consultant that worked there. As I was working with Honda and Toyota, they were trying to drive this Lean 5S Plus safety program into their supply chain also. So it's been pretty effective in a wide range of areas. You want to hit the after show in my office, Chris? But you can obviously see the difference between the before and after. The other thing, just as an aside, one thing we found very effective in an office area is applying Lean 5S to either PC files and project files. We had a project management office where once we organized all the project files the same, it was amazing how the efficiency increased. But not to belabor this thing, there's a wide range of areas that this can apply. And I just wanted to make that point. Okay. Lessons learned. Okay, we've gone through the basics. I've given you the steps. We've given you a couple of examples. What have we learned over the course of, or what have I learned over the course of doing this? Concepting's easy. Making it happen is the hard part. So the suggestions is start with the first 3 steps. Get the areas organized and cleaned up and kind of let them sell the results for itself. Whether it's a toolbox or a workstation, keep it simple. Crawl, walk, run. Show the results with the what's in it for me. Do your pilot project maybe to come up to speed. And again, if you show the results and the benefit, people buy into it. The point I want to stress, the Lean 5S Plus Safety is a program that's worked in a wide range of companies and a wide variety of settings. And the Lean 5S Safety helps create a culture of safety where you get the workers and the frontline managers looking for ways to improve their own work areas, and they show benefits as opposed to being, oh, here comes the safety manager again. He's going to tell me what to be careful of. And you can also apply this to specific areas where you're having, high cuts or, trip hazards or whatever. So the bottom line benefit of this in my mind is it's a proven program. It's supported by the results. So it's worth a try. Over to you, Chris.
All right, thanks, Ernie. So basically, in recapping our closing thoughts, we've basically gone through the basic 5S steps being sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. And then we put the plus S to raise the importance of safety in the process. as the element that's both the all-encompassing factor as well as the glue that holds it all together. The benefits, as we mentioned, range from mom, dad, and apple pie type benefits by having a more organized kitchen drawer to an environment where an entire business is run better and safer and ultimately more successful by putting the process in place and making sure they stay in place to maintain secure employment and well-being of the business. Approach is an opportunity for a pull environment where employees, by taking ownership, want to show that they put the rigors in place versus something that's pushed upon them and something that they have to do. It's something they want to do. So bottom line, Lean 5S plus safety, it provides a cleaner, more organized, less cluttered work area, and it's much safer environment and a good foundation for running a business. So you're asking yourself, what's in it for me? And why should I, as a safety manager, care? Or how can this approach help me in my job? These would be some of our suggestions as to how to answer those questions as you consider taking this approach. So basically, as we mentioned previously, given the limited time available, we're only able to provide an overview. We had to leave a lot of information out due to the time constraints, but we do have additional slides to show some of the tools used in the 5S process. Ernie mentioned a little bit about red tagging, and also there's yellow tagging around the safety concept. An example of ergonomics, a situation where that's resolved, some impressive before and after photos that show the primary focus being on the clean step, as well as cleaning and finding ways to keep things clean, and in a machining manufacturing environment, maintaining equipment, and a final slide on the importance of health and safety from the standpoint of cleaning to inspect for potential issues and risks, as well as the checklist to capture potential concerns. We hope that this, as an overview of Lean 5S plus safety, has been able to demonstrate a proven approach that can work in many different environments and can help you as a safety manager in yours. And Ernie, any last comments before we open up to questions?
Yeah, one last comment to recap the lessons learned. I think it's a good idea, and I've always tried to follow this. Take a program that someone else developed and works and try and apply it to your situation. When I was at Eaton, they had a concept I thought was very good, and this in itself is a good takeaway. It was called the power of one, which is kind of common sense. If one of our plants had a problem with something and came up with a solution, we'd want to go off and share it. So often the lessons learned from this, someone's already come up with a good idea, been there, done that can work for you. So that's basically what I wanted to do with Chris today, is share how this Lean 5S approach plus safety has worked for us, save you some time and effort and trying to come up with your own program. So just keep that in mind as you think about this. And thanks again for your time. And that's our contact information. Any questions, feel free to give us a call. And we did good, Chris, 32 minutes.
Yeah, impressive.
Thank you both, Ernie and Chris, so much. This is now the time. If you do have questions, please type those into the chat box and we can relay them. There is one question. How do I introduce this concept to my employees?
I can take that. Let me give it to you from the corporate guy. This is a good anecdote. When I rolled this program out, my approach was, we got to get this out because I've got 2 months to get 5 plants up and running. And I talked to operations manager, and his comment back to me was, that's not going to work. What you have to do is go on the floor and convince the workers and the frontline managers that it's going to benefit them. And one of the bottom line concepts I got from this is show people what's in it for me and it adds value to them. So basically, if you follow these steps, you'll provide a cleaner, more organized and safer workplace, which is a value to both the workers and the frontline managers. Because the line that we used to use rolling programs out, pushing back on corporate. People, no one's looking for one more program to do. And if you could have it come across as a value add and a benefit program, as opposed to here's comes another program from corporate. And I think that's the same with anything. You have to demonstrate to people to motivate them from the inside out. And if there's a value in it to them of having a cleaner workplace, take the kitchen drawer. Every time I reach in there, I'm not going to cut my hand. That's an obvious benefit.
You're from corporate, Ernie. You're here to help, right?
I fought that battle many times.
I mean, Ernie's
You live
point,
in
I mean,
two
you really
different
got to have
worlds.
it. You got to have it both ways.
But unless you can demonstrate value with anything, that's really one of the core concepts from Toyota was value is defined by the customer. And when you're pushing out a safety program, I think your customer is the worker and the frontline manager. Well, that was a good answer. No other questions.
I'm not seeing any other questions. Carrie, have you received any?
I have not. I'm not seeing any on here. I do know just from experience, before being here, I was at GE. We did do lean manufacturing and Six Sigma and 5S and all the good stuff. And man, it can really make a big impact on safety. And I think that's one of the connections that folks don't necessarily realize. I know for me, when I go in and do a walkthrough, your first impression is the housekeeping, and that is something that this program really addresses. So, you know, housekeeping, what does it look like? How quick can you find stuff? Are we wasting a lot of energy to find stuff? I mean, it does make a big impact on safety. So, you know, definitely fits right in here with Safety Council.
Well, I think it's the starting point for an entire program, right? I mean, if you can get 5S in place, get people working as a team, starting that engine of improvement going, I think that can only be a step in the right direction to the success of the organization.
Yeah, it works both ways. You can use Lean 5S to introduce the lean culture and at the same time gain with safety, and then vice versa. You can, if you have a lean culture, you can extend it to safety, which is what Toyota and GE did. And it doesn't have to be implemented in some long, complicated process. You can use that five-step overhead and common sense.
Awesome. I don't see any other questions. If you have any other questions for me or Stephanie too, now could be a good time to ask them. It seems like we've gotten a couple of those when we do this webinar as well.
I did get one more. Somebody
good.
had asked if you are willing to share the slides from your PowerPoint presentation. So we have recorded this, so we'll at least have it on recording, but are we able to send your slides with the recording?
I guess so. I mean,
we were going to send out a short snippet to see if people were interested in the topic, and then take it from there. Yeah, folks are specifically interested in the whole deck, then I gather we can make that available.
and I think with the deck too, Stephanie, if you look at it, there may be some follow-up questions, so feel free to follow up. I mean, part of my approach here is just to share what we learned. You know, like I said, we're not typical hard sell consulting company, because I've learned a lot from Toyota and a lot of Honda, so I'm more than willing to share what I've learned.
Great. So yes, we will be sharing this video with all of our Safety Council members, as well as the contact information. So if there are questions that you have that maybe you aren't comfortable asking today, please feel free to reach out to Carrie or myself. I'm going to share our screen information again.
Yep, I do have one more question, Stephanie, as you're doing
go
that.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Chris and Ernie, can you talk at all to the return on investment for safety with this type of approach? Is that something you guys have any knowledge or experience about?
I can't really answer that as well because I was more on the corporate side, rolling the program out, and the plant managers that I dealt with, it was kind of a draw poker game with them revealing their numbers, and maybe Chris can answer that. I mean, what I can say with that is if you can show cost reduction or value add, people are all for it. And we did drive safety with metrics. And as Chris said, if you have a recordable or lost time, it's a big deal. So maybe you can extend on that, Chris.
To your point, Ernie, I mean, it's a tough thing really to talk to because it is trying to anticipate a potential issue, which, one lost time accident can really screw up your whole budget. So, somewhat you'd have to look at, what's your history of safety incidents and try to capture that as kind of a starting point. And then, your best guesstimate on what might happen. I know at Goodyear, for example, when we started getting involved in our whole lean program and we started doing some near miss things, we started out having a list of about 200 items on that near miss list. And if you started to look at it, could be anything from a electric cord across the floor to a pallet in front of a control panel, those basic things that if you can take care of in your 5S process are going to significantly avoid the potential for some big issues. So it's kind of a nebulous thing, but what I would suggest is kind of looking at your history of what you've had for accidents. I don't know if Carrie, you got any ideas from your side of the world?
Well, I know, we did see some change, very focused on metrics and near miss reporting and things like that, very focused on ergonomics. And I think lean has a big tie into ergonomics because you're trying to get out wasted movement. So you're going to be moving less, you're moving the product around less, things like that. So it was a big focus to our ergonomics program, is trying to handle the materials less.
Yeah, we extended lean safety into lean ergo. We had a whole lean ergo program. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing. You go into a workstation and you look at it from an ergo perspective, and there's a lot of low fruit.
Absolutely.
Common sense, and it saves a lot of money on those type of injuries.
I agree. All right, well, for the folks that are still on here, you can see Stephanie pulled up the slide. October 20th is our next meeting. We're going to be doing fire safety with Steve Ingersoll, the operations captain at Medina Fire Department. So come with lots of really hard questions to stump him. I think that'll be fun, right? We just won't tell Steve we're going to do that. We didn't make them come up with that for you guys, Chris and Ernie, but we'll do that for Steve next month. If anybody has any questions, again, we're still going to sit here for a few minutes, but we appreciate all of your time and look forward to seeing you at least on October 20th.
Thank you again.